everybody. I'm Alex Moran from Witch and Womb.
And I'm Suzanne Venus from Soul Sense.
And today we are so excited to tell you a little bit about this exciting two-part workshop that we have been working on for, seems like months now, right?
Since February, maybe that's where that was coming.
Yes, exactly, since February. And we're really excited to share this information with you because this workshop really was developed out of Suzanne and I's conversations about our experiences stepping up into our power and how that affects our relationships. So we created this amazing two-part workshop called Fierce Feminine Magic in Relationship. And we want to invite you to it. And we just kind of want to talk to you a little bit about what this whole workshop is about and who it's for. So who's it for, Suzanne?
I think, it's women who are currently in relationship, who've stepped into their power and feel that shift starting to happen within their relationship and are maybe struggling on how to navigate. And this is definitely for women who know they have a great partner and there's no trauma happening. There's no reason where they have to leave their relationship, because by all means we support anyone who needs to leave a relationship that is not unhealthy. But I think you and I discussed a lot how when we stepped into the power, it shifted the dynamic with our spouses, and it took a lot of reworking, renegotiating to make room for that growth to happen and support our husbands in their growth, especially since I know we kind of talked about they're not super spiritual men. My husband is not spiritual at all. He is very aware. He has a lot of intuitive gifts that he doesn't give himself credit for, but he is not spiritual. He does not, chant or meditate. That's not within his comfort zone. But he's a good, honest man and a wonderful husband and an amazing father. And so it was really kind of, how do I rework this so that I'm not giving up this strength I've stood in and make it work for us?
Yeah, I think that was very similar for me too, because it's hard. When you make these huge steps as a woman, you reclaim your voice, you reclaim your power, your sovereignty, and you do this in different areas of your life. And then you come home at the end of the day with this relationship that you've been in dynamic with before you started going on this path, or actually before you've really embraced it in the way that so many women are now. There's some rubs that happen. There's some conflict that shows up. There's pain points that show up. And I know in my marriage, I noticed that big time, that as I started to, say no to certain things and create boundaries, and it's not okay to allow myself to be treated this way in life, I started to realize the incongruencies of where that wasn't happening in my marriage. And then that would create frustration and resentment. And then I'd be like, why aren't you growing? I'm growing. You should be growing too. And
absolutely.
Right. And having these expectations of your partner that maybe are unrealistic, for where they're at in their own journey. So what's kind of cool about this workshop, and I'm so excited that we're creating this and we're finally bringing it into life, is that this is sort of Suzanne and I's, our recipe for how we moved through this and how we did it in a way that was, I'd say probably the easiest, the least conflict oriented, and the way that can really help maintain your sovereignty and then really uplift the sovereignty of your partner as well, so that two people can come together in what we're coining divine partnership.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about what is divine partnership.
I think, as women, when we step in and really embrace our feminine aspects of self and what that truly means, we are strong, we're creative, we're nurturing, we tap into our emotions, our intuition, and we hold space. And so it's interesting, this movement of women holding space for other women. It happens a lot but what about our men? Like when you step into that divine feminine, part of it is holding space for it all. And so it's kind of showing up how to hold space in a way that allows for room and growth of your partner, and giving them the support while not taking away from the sovereignty of yourself, because that often happens when you've been in relationship with someone for a long time. I can only speak for myself, but I've been with my husband for married for 13 years and together for 19. So it's a hell of a long time, in that journey, going from, a 20-year-old to almost 40. And I've had a lot of shift and growth, and it's not always been met. There's always been points of friction, but this was one where we were able to turn that point of friction, in the way that I showed up and held space for him, right? And that's what shifted in the way and allowed for growth and like communication, enjoyment of each other, having fun, and like even moving into the bedroom.
Yes,
Yeah.
I noticed that big time in my relationship as well. Like I actually got to the place where I was like, is this even the right person for me? Like, is this even somebody I want to be with? Maybe I want to be with a spiritual guy. Like maybe I've stepped into this whole spiritual world and I want to be with somebody who can like talk to me on that level. And I made these like assumptions about my husband that now looking back are completely not false. Like they're not true assumptions, but I made these assumptions that he was not a spiritual guy because he didn't express it in the way that I expressed it. And when I learned what you're talking about, kind of by accident on my own, about how to hold space for my husband so that he can find his own God within him, right? We talk so much about women finding their inner goddess and really tapping into that divine feminine energy. And men don't really have a space to tap into their divine masculine energy. But the space, the beautiful space that can be created is the space in relationship.
Yeah, like
Mind
come
blowing.
on. I
I
know.
know. I know. It's so crazy. So a lot of our workshop talks about how do we actually hold space for the men in our lives, and how do we do it from a place where we still feel empowered, like Suzanne was saying, that we don't lose our sovereignty and we don't get to the place of resentment and frustration and all of the things that are kind of natural feelings when
Sure.
we step up into our power, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah, and it's interesting how you talked about the spiritual person. And I know there's a lot of people that go on spiritual quests, so to speak, or go to India, and then they're like, wow, maybe I do want what I don't have, right? So it's interesting. And the other day I was talking about how sometimes what we always wanted is right in front of us, and so it's finding that acceptance and that understanding. But like you said, it's working through those pain points, working through how do we set the boundaries, working through how do we hold the bloody space, and what does that mean when we're accountable and we're holding them accountable, so that we can reconnect and have that divine union with that other person that we are meant to spend our time with. Yeah.
And that is not easy to do, which is why we're coining this fierce feminine magic, because
Absolutely.
literally it is magic to be able to bring yourself to a space where you can hold space for somebody who really is going to trigger you on the deepest, like most intense levels of your self-worth, of your self-love, of your value, of all of the things that like make us easily crumble. Our partners are the people that can knock us down with like one look, one word, one attitude. Right? So it requires this ability to step into this space of power. And it sounds very kind of, I don't know, almost out there, like it's intangible, like it's just this like esoteric concept. But the way that Suzanne and I break it down, it's super freaking practical. Like,
That's like, it's honestly, I think maybe, I mean, I love the movie, but like it is practical magic. It is so embodied. It is so reality based. And experiential based that I think that's what's so powerful, relatable, and magical about it.
And it works. We've seen it with our own partners, which is just crazy to go from men that are not on the spiritual path at all and are just like, whoa, what is this woman doing? Why is she stepping so far off the path of what we've agreed to when we started our relationship? And then being able to bring them onto it. And now, like, my husband like gets excited. Like, he texted me the other day and was like, oh, I had a freak out, like all this stuff was frustrating happening. And he's like, you'd be so proud of me. I went into the bathroom and I sat down for 2 minutes and I did the breathing technique you told me, and it felt so much better. I was like, I love you.
Yes, yes. And that's it. Like them understanding and taking what works for them, but recognizing how important it is and being in the place to like that we can lean on them for support. And now, whereas maybe before there was resistance, but now I feel that support.
Absolutely. And I think that all begins with us as women understanding the wounded masculine. We spend so much time understanding our own selves with the wounded feminine and the divine feminine, and what are the differences and how do we transition. And then we step into our divine feminine energy and we just expect our men to go from wounded to divine like that, without any journey.
Which is so ridiculous because I don't know about you, but like my process has been 20 years in the making, but like really amplified in the last 3. But like, you know, it's been this gradual process. So for us to all of a sudden be wherever we're at, we're like, what the fuck are you not here matching me? It doesn't work.
I know.
That is ridiculous to actually have that expectation.
It's ridiculous and really unfair to the relationship too. You know, like I noticed that when my mind was going to, wow, I don't even know if I want to be with this person. Like I was questioning whether or not the relationship was even valid anymore in my own mind. And that's so unfair because I had these expectations. So a big part of our workshop is really walking through the wounded masculine and how do we coax out the healed versions of them? How do we support them and witness them in a way that they can step up into their inner God selves? Because the thing about men that's so freaking amazing is I think it's a lot easier for men to move from wounded to divine. Women, we're complicated. We've got all of these spirals and depths and like feelings and everything. And men
cycles and whatever. And it's like for women, we spiral and cycle. And not saying that men don't, but it's like they just, you know, level up to where they need to be, whereas we're doing this all the time.
We're always stirring. Right? And it's never good enough, right? Like it's like we get to one level and then we need to go to a deeper level and a deeper level. So that's a huge part of our workshop, is really understanding that and learning how to coax our partners into this higher version of themselves. And in doing so, how you can start feeling more connected to your partner. So like Suzanne was saying earlier, we do talk a lot about sex magic and using our sexual allure and our sexual connection with our partners to instigate and provoke out within both of us, within all of us, this higher version of ourselves, which is really funny. So that's the second class. We have a 2-part series.
Yes. Yeah, which is just magical. And one thing that I think is beautiful about what we're doing, not only is it a 2-part workshop, but we've got 2 weeks in between, and we will be setting up a closed Facebook group where people can be witnessed and seen, and we'll have some structure as to how that happens in things that may shift and turn up between those 2 points in time, between June 9th and June 23rd, and then another week after that. So like 3 weeks of this closed group of support as well, which is kind of makes it this nice cohesive circle to navigate through these pieces.
And I love that Father's Day is in between, because holidays always bring up the woundedness in all of us.
Yep.
right? So it's a perfect time for any woundedness and conflict within your relationship to come up around Father's Day and the meaning of that energy in our lives. And I'm really excited about the Facebook group because we can tell our stories. Like if we don't have enough time in circle, because we will have like a lot of sharing, like each class is 2 hours long. So we'll have a lot of sharing space, which is super healing. But like if in between when things come up, like something happens on Father's Day, we have each other's support so that we can share that and be witnessed
Absolutely.
as it comes up.
Absolutely. I'm beyond excited for this to come to fruition. I feel like, with it kind of peaking at summer solstice, it's just good energy. It's really been in the womb, so to speak, and been like, now it's time to put it out there into light. It's great.
And I just think there's so many women out there that are like aching for this information because we don't know how to move from this wounded version to the divine version of ourselves in relationship. We don't know how to do it. And we've really spent a lot of time breaking it down. We've got 10 steps to a divine partnership, how to take inventory of your current relationship, how to shift that dynamic and renegotiate your contracts, and how to create a new contract.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And it's all this implicit work, but broken down into more concrete and practical ways for people to embed into their own life. Yeah. It's magic.
It's magic, and it changed my life. It saved my marriage. I don't know about you.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I will not lie that the last, stepping into the space really brought some shakiness between my relationship with my husband, and ultimately I knew that I wanted to be with him and to figure out how he could best support me. And turns out that I was able to help shift that. But yeah, we were not in the best place that we had been, and now we are in the best space that we've been in a lot of, all of these areas, even, the sex part too, which never had been. You'd think that in your younger years, but no.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's great about this fierce feminine magic is every aspect of life gets heightened, and the relationship, your main relationship, your love relationship should be no exception. And so I'm really excited. So June 9th and June 23rd at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we're going to have a link and more information for you to check out if you're interested in joining this course. We're probably going to keep it pretty intimate and small because this is really big work and we don't want to hold space for too many people. So make sure you sign up sooner than later to make sure you get this magic before the summer solstice and transform your relationship. You deserve it. We all do.
Yeah, we all do. It's amazing. Can't wait.
Absolutely. Me too. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either Suzanne or myself. Otherwise, we will see you at our Fierce Feminine Magic in Relationship workshop in June.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.